This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com, home of the Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament. At the Susquehanna Valley Country Club, auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV, Medicare products. They make sure you're fully insured. They organize your insurance. They do everything they can to save you money. And by the way, the Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament does benefit the greater Susquehanna Valley YMCA. All at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Mike Poorman, my good friend, joins me. Mike, it's so great to have you back on the show. Welcome.
Well, it's great to be welcomed. And I got a dose of Steve Jones yesterday afternoon.
What was I doing yesterday?
You had a wonderful performance as the guest on LeVar Arrington's show.
Oh, yeah.
Pod. Yeah, the tables were turned, Mr. Jones.
Yes, we taped that 3 weeks ago. I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know it was out, but yeah, it was taped 3 weeks ago. LeVar and I had a blast. I think the world of the guy.
It was fun to watch, and I'm not getting rid of Jack today, but if you're a decade from now, LeVar may be a good fit in the booth.
He'd be a great fit. He would do a tremendous job. Smart, articulate, knows the game, great instincts. Yeah, but I'm currently happy with the incredible individual I work with now. So we'll keep
I'm not trying to get. I'm a big Jack fan, but it was a fun watch. It's on I'm going to give Penn State a plug on the new Roar Plus channel, and I just subscribed yesterday.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. LeVar did a great job with it, as did Brenna Mathers, who's the one that helped put it together. So, Mike, it's a media day tomorrow. No questions over the first 2 days are going to be answered here in all this. But what are you looking for specifically in this camp, that can tell you that they're putting themselves on a track?
Good question. I in preparation for Saturday, there's a couple things I do to get ready, and one is a ready list of questions. And everyone's going to ask national championship, and you're going to get the company line, as you should. My question is, what's the vibe inside Lash Building? And it's hopefully it's specific but general enough to get a sense on what. And I know that you're inside the building a lot, but for the folks who cover the team, we are not. So to me, that will how they respond to what the vibe is, as opposed to asking. We know what the goal is, but what's the vibe?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be interesting because it's one thing the great Russ Rose always imparted to me, and he had a run of 4 straight years where they won the national championship. And he said a big job for him when he had so many returning players was to impart to them that you are 0-0 and it's a brand new season. Last season doesn't help you. That was always his philosophy.
Well, it's kind of the Eagles. With the Eagles, right now, with Saquon and company, it's, you're not defending champions, you're attacking champions. And although Penn State was literally a play or drive away from the national championship game, because I'm reminded of Terry Smith is so smart.
Yes.
And whenever I'm looking for super insight and historical context, you go to the OG, and one of my favorite lines from him, and I think this goes hand in hand with the vibe, it's the best teams are the player-led teams. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a player-led team. And I'm going to ask you, in some ways, there's similarities to the 86 team where there were, 14, 15 guys came back for a fifth year. So it's a very mature team, and it's a veteran-driven team, right?
Well, when you sit there and you look at the 85 to 86 team, I think people were surprised at the number of people that came back, starting with Shane Conley. But there were others that also came back in that team that would have been draft eligible. And after losing the Orange Bowl game, they seem to be committed, that team, to coming back and playing. This has been very much the same story here with so many guys back. And thus, to me, it's their job, Mike, to communicate to the younger players that when James talks about the 1-0, which can be mocked by people from the outside, but there's a reason why he does it especially inside, that they can tell him, hey, look, 1-0 means 1-0, which means if you're playing Northern Illinois, you play him, you got to win the game.
Good clawback on that, Steve Jones. I like that. Just out of the thin air, you just thought of Northern Illinois.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they put themselves in a must-win every week after that game. If Notre Dame had lost one more game, they would not have made the playoff.
You're absolutely right.
Because it would have been held against them the entire time. How do you view the backup quarterback situation? And if whomever gets that spot, do you end up, for example, seeing a scenario like the way Drew Aller was used his freshman year?
Yeah, maybe not the very first game when it's super tight like it was at Purdue. But yeah, you're going to see a lot of both of those guys, and they're so very different. And it's on my ready list of potential stories, and it's really, is it going to be Iowa? What year was that? 21, or Wisconsin, or was it Iowa 22? Wisconsin of 24. Those are the two extremes, and so which one are you going to be ready for? And Grunk and Smolik are so very different in so many ways. I think you're obviously astute. I think that's a storyline, to use a line from James, that people aren't talking enough about.
The transfer receivers and the tight end situation, how do you view that?
Well, James is all in, obviously, on Dinkins, and I think the upgraded tight end, I mean, Tyler could and was willing to do anything, but I think Dinkins is a great, hand-in-the-ground blocker, and Rappleyea is going to be finally healthy. That was a long comeback, and I think Reynolds could be Tyler Warren, and we've seen pieces of it, Tyler Warren Jr. So overall, when you throw in the wide receivers and you throw in Nick and maybe even some of Fat, there are a lot of maybe not A-plus weapons, but there's a lot of A-B weapons, and I think that's going to give Drew much of a greater opportunity to succeed, not having to rely on Tyler.
Well, here's the next part. James talks about ending games on Penn State's terms, which they did, for example, against Boise State and so forth. What does this offensive line mean to the ability to end games on Penn State's terms?
I love this offensive line on so many levels. This offensive line, it may not be Munchak, Farrell, Romano, but there's shades of that, because these are big guys. These are smart guys. These are real Penn State guys. These are good guys. These are older guys. They're committed guys. And even James Cooper Cousins, he's a young guy with an old soul. So I think that, this offensive line is underrated. And I think they will have the ability to go like Michigan did a couple years ago, right? If they have to run 32 straight running plays, they can get it done. This offense, I'm thinking, on my story list, Steve, for Saturday, and this is not a cheerleader. This is the truth. I love this offensive line, and it's a, you know them. This is a great group of guys with massive potential
and depth
and great camaraderie too. Which is so key at that position.
And depth. You can't negotiate a 16-game season, because we just watched a 16-game season, where if you don't depth, you're not going to have a shot. I mean, look, KJ Winston lasted 5 quarters last year.
Well, you know, Ryan Day, I heard the quote twice from him. Ryan Day, when he was talking about the effects of the season, he said exactly what you did, is the depth. And they've lost early and then late. They lost 2 great offensive linemen, Ohio State, and still won the national title. Right. So I think that depth, that retention, that injury, you know, Ohio State is the perfect comp for that. They worked their way through that.
Right, so how interested are you to hear what Jim Knowles says about his defense and about his players that he's plugging into the defense now that he's had a spring and a couple of practices to plug some things in?
I want to hear what he has to say about the linebackers.
Yeah.
Dom is always Dom, but Campbell's new, and, you know, by all indications, for the first time in maybe a year almost, Tony Rojas is healthy. So I'd love to hear his assessment of, and there's other guys, but those are the main 3. I'd love to hear his assessment of what he thinks of that unit.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because when you do get a chance to see Campbell, let me tell you what sticks out about him right away. Just looking at him. I don't mean just playing, because I know he can play. But how thick his legs are. I mean, my goodness. It's Mike, you're like, holy mackerel, it's a little different look at linebacker compared to some other guys. Everybody's built differently, but still. What about the secondary, which has been such a positive for Penn State over the years? How do you mentioned Terry Smith. How do you look at that?
Well, let me ask you one more thing about Campbell, because you've seen him. You've been at the practices so far. Is there a comp for this kid? Can you think of a comp?
No, he's his own guy. I mean, you know, I saw him play some in North Carolina, especially in the Minnesota game, because I definitely watched that game. He had a couple of sacks in that game, so he has a burst to get through the hole and get to the quarterback. I thought he played the run pretty well. And I know at the end of the year he was actually playing better than at the beginning, because at the beginning of the year he was a bit banged up. But I think he's definitely, with Wiley, with DeLuca, with Rojas, with Specca, and others, Penn State actually has some depth at linebacker, and he helped improve. In my opinion, Mike, he helped improve it.
Well, Specca's an interesting wild card too, but the secondary, yeah, they're deep, and Knowles is going to do a lot of things with them. I'm really interested in watching King Mack.
Yeah.
I love to watch him when he was here 2 years ago. I mean, athletic and exciting, and so I'm excited to see him in practice. I'm excited to see how he interacts, and it's kind of, for me, it's a cool storyline, right? I mean, this kid left, and he left for a name brand, and then he's coming back with his eyes wide open. You know, the grass is not greener, or the grass isn't redder down there. So I love, and I know you talked to LeVar about that, I think that's a very cool storyline.
No, it is a very cool storyline without question. How close a look have you taken of the stadium? The part that they're building, especially the temporary part, and if you have seen it, what did you think of it?
Thanks for asking. I'm a big walker, so at least twice a week I'll walk on campus, and I take little videos that I post on Twitter of the progress at the stadium. In the past week, maybe the last 10 days, they've put almost all the temporary bleachers up and the lighting. But the traffic, the interest of folks, like I'll post a 26-second video. This is what the stadium looks like today. I'll get 30,000, 40,000 views. So there's intense interest in that. I am the comments, and even me, as you look at the temporary bleachers that are up, they're free form. I'm anxious to see a couple things. What happens during the whiteout? And then this is a small one, but it's not exactly a bowl. There are gaps. And so I'm wondering, it's not going to come into play early, but I'm wondering if the gaps on the west side with the temporary bleachers, that's going to create a different atmosphere, not only among the fans, but literally among the wind, whether that's an impact in the stadium, because you well know from your vantage point, and I got a question about your vantage point, that with the bowl, the winds are contained to a certain degree. And by the way, where is your vantage point going to be, Steve Jones?
It's going to be on the west side. They're building a temporary broadcast area for TV and the radios, including the opposing team radio. And so we should be just above the old permanent seating. So we should be just about, it's actually a little bit lower than we were before. So that's what we'll be for 2 years. And then they're going to build a broadcast level in this new building that they're going to be putting up.
I'm excited by all that, I have to tell you.
Oh, I don't believe me. I think, look, Chris Wheeler, who did the Phillies for 37 years, and Chris and I are really good friends. And when they brought the press box down, and ironically, I had to go to Philadelphia because I had to do basketball the next day. And I
love Wheels.
Wheels is the greatest, isn't he? And Wheels sent me a text, and he said, Steve, he says, how did you feel when the press box went down? Did you feel some nostalgia, or did you feel the same way when I saw the vet in rubble? And my response was the vet in rubble. Like I always would tell the other broadcasters, I said, hey, look, I know it's not your favorite, but it's our home. So, I'm not going to criticize our home.
Well, it had to be WDFM. Right?
Sure.
It's 70-something that you called your first game from the press box?
Yeah, it would have been Texas A&M 1979. Curtis Dickey and Texas A&M. It's the first game I called.
I remember early in the season, a super sunny day. Yep. Wow.
He ran for 184 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Penn State actually scored first, led the game 7-0. And then Texas A&M took over. That was the first game I ever did. So, a long time ago.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, you've seen a thing or two, but it is exciting. Even if it's a cramped venue, smaller, or whatever. And then you throw in this season. I've been working on a piece comparing this to 82 to 86 to 94. There's some interesting comparisons there.
Yeah. No, there is. Without question. Hey, we'll see how this plays out. It's a lot of fun. Mike, it's always a pleasure having you on because you always give such an interesting perspective, and you're so curious about everything, which is really cool. So appreciate it.
Well, I know that's you. Anyway, tell LeVar.
I will.
That yes, if and when Jack retires, I'm putting him forth to be your partner in the booth.
There you go. Okay, I'll let him know that.
All right, see you, buddy.
Appreciate it. Mike Poorman joining us on the show today in this half hour, being brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, light, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. Medicare products. They want to make sure you're fully insured. They want to make sure they do everything in their power to save you money. And, of course, they always give back to the community. The Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament at the Susquehanna Valley Country Club to benefit the Greater Susquehanna Valley YMCA here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
How much can you save with 0% financing for 60 months at Sunbury Motors Hyundai? Just listen. Save $8,987 in interest on a 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe. Save $9,780 in interest over the term on a 2025 Hyundai Palisade. And to make it even better, Sunbury Motors Hyundai has additional discounts. Get an additional $2,250 SMC discount on 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe SELs. And an additional $2,500 SMC discount on 2025 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphies. Remember, all new Hyundais come with Hyundai Assurance and are backed by America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Be a hero with zero. Save nearly 10 grand now with 0% financing for 60 months plus SMC discounts. Only at Sunbury Motors Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. Vehicle savings based on finance comparison between 0% and 5.99% APR for 60 months. See dealer for details.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, the best in new inventory. Great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. That is so important. Because it eases your buying experience. And ease of buying experience means everything to them at Sunbury Motors and the service department, whether it happens to be quick lane inspections, routine, difficult. They handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Hello, Todd.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Doing great. Yeah, doing great. Yeah. Let's do quarterback club today.
How'd the debut of that go?
Well, you're not going to go wrong when it's Drew Aller, Zane Durant, Tyler Jasansky, and James Franklin. It would take a lot for me to foul that up. So, yeah.
With that group, nobody wants to hear from you anyway.
Well, no, but you know what? But that's what I've always tried to tell people over the years. I've had people say, you ask short questions. And, yeah, you notice that. I mean, I don't ask long questions to people, okay? And one of the issues that I think sometimes happens is that you have to realize that people want to hear from the subject. People want to hear from the subject. It's their information you're trying to get out of them. So you ask as many what and why questions as possible, and you stay out of the way. Right? emceeing a banquet, right? It's not up to me to do a comedy routine up there. It's up to me to make the banquet move, hand out the awards, because nobody came there to watch you MC the banquet. And you have to have that attitude the entire time as to what people are there for. So people are there to hear Drew Aller's answers, to hear Zane Durant's answers, to hear Tyler Jasinski's answers, to hear James Franklin's answers. And so you stay out of the way. Yeah, do you facilitate conversation? Sure. Yeah. And, that's what you do. Like, for example, and now I know we carry Rich Eisen at 3 o'clock. We used to carry Sean Hannity. Well, Sean Hannity's had a tremendous career. It's not up to me to give Sean Hannity advice, but it's not as if I've had a shabby career either. Okay, it's okay. I'm just not on national, 5 days and 5 nights a week. But my issue with him has always been very simple. When he has guests on, he does more talking than they do. Right? He knows. He obviously knows what he's doing. He's had, like I said, a phenomenal career, but he does do more talking. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. That's why I try to ask what and why questions, and I try to get to the point. Now, every once in a while, do you have to add in any context for the question? Okay. Sometimes you do have to add some context in there so that the audience is cued in and the person answering the question doesn't have to fill in the context. So sometimes you have to do that. But you don't have to sit there and let the world know that, quote, you know what you're talking about. You can just ask questions. Remember we had Emily Kaplan on the show? And she's been criticized by people because of her short questions. Are you nuts? She's doing a phenomenal job. She gets X amount of time to do it, and she knows that people want to hear the subject. That's why when we had her on the show, we talked about that. I'd be the first person on the face here to defend her. And there have been people on social media who can't do her job to save their souls, but they can evaluate her job. She doesn't have to prove what she knows. She's already there. All right.
Those who can't do right, at least that's what I always tell people.
No, you right and you're outstanding at it, right? It's those who can't do criticize. Okay? That's what it is. Those who can't do criticize. Welcome to the world of social media. I mean, Drew Aller was talking today about how he dropped X. Middle of last season. You have to. Too many ways of people getting to people these days.
Did you ask him if he was on the boat before the Orange Bowl?
No, I did not.
Sorry, that still cracks me up.
I know, but I saw him that night. Why? I passed him in the hotel. They have... There's absurdities in the world, like Klubnik. He was allegedly in a car accident. His mother has to come out and say, no, he was not in a car accident. They've got the big game this week with LSU down at Death Valley. That's the night game on ESPN. I mean, I saw Todd Blackledge yesterday, and I'll never forget, Penn State goes into the Nebraska game 3-0. And all week long, there was a rumor running around that Todd was hurt the whole week. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, people would come up to me and they go, what happened to him? I go, what do you mean what happened to him? It looks fine to me. No. The rumors are going around. He got hurt. I said, well, he didn't look hurt in practice with me yesterday. Am I missing something here? Never forget that week. He comes out and puts together a phenomenal performance. Penn State plays well the entire day, then loses the lead with 1:17 to go, then drives downfield, wins the game. I don't know how this stuff gets started sometimes. And as for the criticism, I finally get a chance. I haven't had a chance to talk about this week. One of the people in sports, and I don't know him at all. I've only been around him when I've covered U.S. Opens or whatever. So I don't know him, but I've been around him and heard him talk, is Tommy Fleetwood. And Fleetwood has had one of those really terrific seasons and broke through and won the Tour Championship in Atlanta on Sunday. His first win on the PGA Tour. He has 7 other wins worldwide, by the way. I think on the DP Tour he has 7 wins. But it took him 160-something to win one here. He had the lead at Hartford. It didn't happen. He had the lead another time. It didn't happen. He's been in contention. And I was reading a story after he had another near miss. It may have been Memphis. And this writer, and there was I read 2 stories, 2 different outlets. And they ripped his post-tournament attitude about the losses. Staying positive, the whole thing. What the heck is wrong with you? They ripped his attitude because he stayed positive about it. What do you want him to do? Break down in tears? I mean, I get so baffled by this. And I know that, as you know, Todd, I'm pretty much, let's say over the years, I think people will tell you I'm a pretty positive person. It's just my nature. It's the way I am. I don't have to fake that or anything like that. Don't have to force myself to be, but I see this stuff and I ask myself, what is wrong with you? Okay? There are 8 billion people in the world. He finished second out of 156 guys? Really? Cut me a break. Yeah, because he has a good attitude, staying positive. Now he's won. Well, guess what? The guy's a heck of a player. He's earned a lot of Ryder Cup points in his time. He's won 7 on the DP Tour. He just hasn't been able to break through here. And yet, these 2 guys were taking shots at him for how he's handling it. Well, no offense. I think he handled it pretty darn well. Right? And he kept playing. There's so many people that you have to place on ignore.
It is interesting to me that you get nailed for not reacting enough, but they're also upset about the guys at the U.S. Open tearing up the locker room and Rory McIlroy hitting the tee box. Mm-hmm. So you're not supposed to show too much emotion either.
Right.
You got to find a fine line.
Yeah, Wyndham Clark at Oakmont. And he has talked to a couple of Oakmont members yesterday, as a matter of fact, because I was down in Pittsburgh. I think they're willing to listen. How about that, as members? But it's okay to be critical of a situation, a game, or how somebody handled something, and that about learning and moving forward from it, or something like that. But geez, the stuff I'm reading this stuff about him. The guy's playing great golf. If he was playing lousy golf and out of nowhere had this miracle finish, okay, great. But he's in the thick of it every week. And I see this all the time. Look, I get asked about this all the time. So let's, okay. But people have asked me about winning the big game. All right. Well, and I point out to people, because of a long career, you can at least have some perspective. Guess who else was told for a long period of time they couldn't win the game, big game? Tom Landry, John Madden, okay? Joe. Can't win the big game. Joe got the national title game in '78, didn't win it. Can't win the big game. Right? And then all of a sudden, things came into place. They won the big game. I mean, John Madden won a Super Bowl. And by doing that, he carved out a long, incredible, wonderful career. Tom Landry finally broke through, won 2 of them. Won 6 and 12. Both Landry and Madden did have a problem when they faced Pittsburgh because the Steelers were that good during Jack's era.
I was just going to say, I think your buddy had a little bit of something to do with that.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question about that. Right? But over and over and over, can't win the big game, can't win the big game, can't win the big game. And Dallas went to back-to-back NFL championship games in 66 and in 67. And Dallas drove down, and Don Meredith rolled out, and Dave Robinson, Penn State's own, belted him on the play, and Tommy Brown picked it off in the back of the end zone. The next year, Dallas is winning, and it's below 0, and they drive down, and Bart Stark scores on a quarterback sneak. Well, then they have a couple of years in a row where, Dallas isn't that good, and finally Meredith retires. And then he breaks through and wins Super Bowl 6. Now suddenly out of nowhere, there's nothing wrong with Tom Landry. He's a genius. Madden can't break through. Finally, they go through. The Steelers, Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier were both out of the AFC Championship game. Game was out in Oakland because they both got hurt against Baltimore. But the Raiders won. Then they went out and they beat Minnesota. Now suddenly Madden's a genius. Okay. But they were both told, can't win the big one. When the opportunity arises, I mean, and I've always said about people, geez, he's won a lot of big games in his lifetime. What, Fran Tarkenton can't win he can't win the big one. Fran Tarkenton was a great quarterback. So, 0-3 in Super Bowls. I got it. And one of the few guys that's been able to get away with it is Dan Marino. I mean, get away with it, I mean, in a positive sense. In other words, they've always had hey, what a great quarterback. I know he never won, but boy, what a great player.
I was going to say, I mean, they said the same thing about John Elway till he won those late in his career.
Yes.
And they still give Charles Barkley crap.
Yeah. Now, he has fun with it. And, somebody who has fun with it, believe it or not, is Phil Mickelson about the U.S. Open. Right? I saw him being interviewed by David Faraday. And Faraday says, you've never won the U.S. Open. And Mickelson says, yes, but I finished second 6 times. At least he's having fun with it. As painful as I'm sure it must be. Because it's always the tournament you ache to win.
I always thought that would be something he pulled out late in life. Late in golf life, not late in his life.
Yeah.
Just kind of like the Nicklaus when he was 46 winning the Masters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he won the PGA at 50. Mickelson did. Which is the oldest ever to win a major. But, he always, for some reason, I don't know. No, he can't do it right now. Actually, I think he could. I never understood why Mickelson never played in the the senior U.S. Open. I never understood why he never did that. Yeah.
I wonder if it wouldn't mean as much to him personally.
Maybe. I mean, Palmer and Nicklaus both won it. It meant something to them.
Oh, well, the senior tour isn't what it once was, though, either. I mean,
no, that's true. Oh, that's true. I mean, in some ways, the PGA Tour isn't.
Oh, no.
In some ways. Let's see. The Ravens are going to make Kyle Hamilton the highest paid safety in football, 4 years, $100.4 million. Hendrickson got a raise with the Bengals. Rashee Rice, 6-game suspension, the wide receiver for the Chiefs. So he'll get to play in the last 11 games. Tommy DeVito, who was at one point with the Giants, is now a Patriot. Kenny Pickett is now with the Raiders after Aiden O'Connell is out 6 to 8 weeks with his injury. And, of course, naturally, ESPN. Headlines, left and right, left and right, left and right. And, of course, what's one of the headlines yesterday? That Shedeur Sanders made the cut with Cleveland. He's the third-string quarterback. What other third-string quarterback in college football, in pro football, has a headline? I mean, really.
From the same family that had a headline for an undrafted safety that was cut on cutdown day?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, after a while, you just like, that's why people don't trust you, because you just do BS stuff. I mean, that's one of the issues they have with ESPN. They do too much BS stuff. Stephen A. Smith defends Bill Belichick's legacy ahead of North Carolina's start. I don't care. Mad Dog furious over Travis Kelce Taylor Swift engagement hype. Who cares? I'm happy for them. They seem happy. That's all I care. That's fine. I just want people to be happy. Todd, are you happy?
So I was off yesterday. We were off yesterday, of course, and my daughter came home from school, and she's a big Taylor Swift fan.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I heard my wife say to her, do you know? And she said she does, because her teacher last year, who was 26, let out a loud yelp at lunch.
That's fine. If that makes people happy, that's fine. I don't care. You know what I mean? It doesn't. But does Mad Dog have to talk? Who cares? They're two people. They seem like they're in love. I'm happy for them. Great. People are people. They're allowed to get married. Nothing's stopping them. But when they did the podcast, of course, I didn't see the podcast, okay? But I read about something because the headline was about her maybe doing draft analysis. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, I know what it's about, because my wife did watch it. She brought up that now that she's into football, and she was running around the house when they drafted Rashee Rice last year, because she now knew that they needed a speed receiver.
Yeah.
That was the point of it.
Yeah. I mean, like, no. Okay? I mean, that'd be like bringing me into whatever her record label is and me making recommendations. No. I'm thrilled she's a fan. She's done a lot to bring people to watch football and watch the NFL. It's great. But, like, there's, like, certain lanes in life. It's okay. Yeah. If you're analyzing the draft, I'm going to go back and just give me the list later. Right? Not because I'm mean or anything like that. It's just,
I think you got caught on the actual headline and not the actual substance of what she said.
I don't read that stuff.
Aggregators, baby.
I just don't read that stuff.
Yeah.
They want clicks. I'm like, whatever. And Dave Portnoy revived Big Noon Kickoff. I don't care. I'm happy for him that he's on there. That's great. But I don't watch pregame shows anymore because they don't offer anything of substance. Yeah, it's just me. Yeah, I'm not going to watch game day on Saturday. Well, that's not true. I may watch when Corso does his last headgear thing.
I was just going to say I'm going to try and watch Lee.
Yeah, that I will do. So my apologies. Yes, I will do that.
But that will probably be the last time that I spend more than 2 seconds on it.
Yeah, but I'm not going to tune in until 11:30. And then Jack and I still have to talk about when I'm going to go pick him up at the hotel and go over to the game. I mean, we're on at 2, so he'll be after that.
Oh. I kind of forgot that was a 3:30 kick.
Yeah,
until earlier today.
Yeah, Brad Nessler's doing it with Gary Danielson. So, yeah.
I tried to get Brad on last week.
Okay.
No, you want to guess where in the world was Brad Nessler last week?
I will say he was not in the country. How about that?
That is correct. How about Portugal?
I
thought that was kind of an odd one.
with my people.
Oh, yeah, I always forget about that.
Everybody does. Now, my mother's family is not from Portugal. They're from the Azores. But the Azores are Portugal.
Come for the Penn State, stay for the geography.